Welcome to the REI Hacker Podcast, where we unlock the secrets of real estate success. Join us as we dive into the journeys of top investors, mentors, and industry experts. And now, let's hand it off to our host, Benson Juarez.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you so much for being here on this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. Super excited for my next guest. His name is Patrick Yepez. Patrick is a real estate investor. He's an entrepreneur, software and digital products creator, and he's the founder of Big Dream Marketing Services. Many call him the king of connections. Patrick, thank you so much for being with me. I really appreciate it.
Benson, it's a real pleasure to be on your podcast, and love to chat with you this afternoon and have your audience learn a little bit more about me and about the power of blogging.
Amazing. Yeah, it's we've known each other for probably 4 years. I'm trying to think. It's about 4 years.
Maybe more. Yes.
And I mean, you've been in the business a long time. You've done a lot of different things. But it goes way back. You immigrated here to the U.S. as a baby, and your parents were both deeply involved in real estate. How did their careers influence your own path? And do you have any vivid memories or early memories of real estate from your childhood?
Boy, do I. And my dad used to work, we're going back to the 60s. So my dad was a real estate agent when I was a tot. And I remember clearly playing with a train set at a real estate company called Ruth Proskauer Real Estate. And Ruth Proskauer was one of the first offices my dad worked. And I clearly remember playing with the train set in the lobby of their office. And I would look forward to going with my dad to the real estate office because I would play with that train set. I'll share another anecdotal experience. My dad started out, he was a real estate agent. He started buying his first set of homes when he was he was probably in his late 20s at that point. And I used to go with him. Dad didn't have money to, hire contractors to repair homes. And he's a buy and hold investor. And went on to own a little over 100 doors, throughout the years. But at the beginning, he didn't have money. So literally, Mom, Dad, my brother, and I would go, and I worked as a kid, probably every week and every holiday. There was always on Monday morning paint in my hair or what have you. We would help Dad and sweep or what have you. But when I was a kid, 4 or 5, 6 years old, I had a plastic tool belt. And I would go, and my dad would be there, and I guess spackling and painting or whatever. And I would be helping him with my tools. And I remember that so vividly. So the office, and then my dad as a real estate investor and buy and hold investor, and having tenants, that's all I knew my entire life. So it was kind of a logical transition after I graduated from New York University. Graduated with a degree in finance and international business, but I quickly decided to go into the real estate field, and started out as a real estate agent in my dad's real estate company. We're going back almost 40 years ago. So started out in his company. I was a real estate agent, then I became a broker for about a decade. And I used to sell, properties to investors, and they would come in and buy a house at, for $100,000 and come back to release it with me and sell it for $300,000. And I said to myself, I think I'm at the wrong side of the equation. I should be buying these homes. So when you're a real estate agent, you think you know about homes. So I went ahead, bought my first home. It was on Front Street in Patterson, New Jersey. And I said, this is phenomenal. This is great. I lost a little over $30,000 on my first flip. So it goes to show you what little we know. But since then, I did, I about a decade I was working, buying and fixing, rehabbing, flipping houses. Back then, there was no internet. The term wholesaling didn't exist. But, if there was too many deals that came on my lap, I would, call a fellow investor and they would return the favor. And then I moved the company to Florida. I'm based out of Florida. It's Florida Express Home Buyers. And so we actively still do about 14, 15 deals a month. We've been doing that for the past 11, 12 years. So I'm still active in that space. And then a lot of people in the real estate space know me either from the digital products or from the marketing services or the network that I built out with people like yourself, your peers. So, coaches and SaaS company owners, influencers, podcasters, those type of people.
Yeah, I would say, not knowing your title, right? The king of, building
Connections,
networks, right? Connections.
Yeah.
I would say that's definitely true. Like I've known you for ever since the beginning, and that's what you came out of the gates doing, was connecting. Who can I introduce you to?
Right.
What do you need? And then you think about somebody, oh yeah, I know this person, or I know this person. And that's really a skill, because that means you have to know the people that you talk to. You're not out there superficially just meeting random people and saying, oh, hey, nice to meet you. You're learning something about them. You're internalizing it. Maybe you keep a database. I'd like to learn about how you track all this. But you're internalizing it. And then you're probably already thinking about, oh, I need to introduce this person to this one and this one. And even before someone asks or has a need, you're probably connecting the dots in your head.
Yes. In fact, I had a meeting with somebody this morning. He's a fellow from Los Angeles. He's a lender. And I said to him, you know something, Alex, let me introduce you to Michael Corrigan, because I think there's a connection there that's perfect. And while we're at it, let me also introduce you to Ken Sykes. I think there's a great connection there. And I think maybe we can get your company integrated on Flipbid with Ken Singh. So he was like, all right. So we set up all these things. So yes, I'm a firm believer in collaboration, in collaborating with people to help, each other grow our businesses. So I'm a firm believer of that. I think that networking and doing those connections are so vital for you to be able to grow your business, whether you're have a large real estate investment firm, or you're a solopreneur, or you're a service provider for real estate investors. Networking is so crucial.
Yeah, I think it is too. But it takes a certain kind of person to really embrace that whole philosophy and leverage it. Because people that have like a scarcity mentality may not believe there's enough to go around, right? And they might
That's
think,
well
oh,
said.
I need to do it on my own, right? I don't want to rely on anybody else. And that scarcity mentality doesn't go far in business typically. So what have you noticed about the opposite, right? This abundance mindset and how it relates to networking?
That's a great question, and I'll share an experience that I had. There was a company that piqued my interest. It's one of these companies that do the appointment setting, and so their angle was a little bit different, and it caught my interest. And like skip tracers, they're a dime a dozen. But I was speaking to the owner of the company, and he said, Patrick, so tell me what is your sales process? How do you acquire clients for the marketing end of the business? And I said, there is none. And he really, he looked at me like I was either crazy, or I'm like, I'm lying. And he's like, what do you mean you don't have a sales process? I said, no, I don't have a sales process. I don't have a sales team, and I never have done a sales call. And so he was taken aback, and he's like, but then how do you do ads? And I said, I never spent a penny on ads. The marketing services that we provide for your peers, for coaches, for SaaS company owners, and for real estate investors. And we do, I have clients that are attorneys, that are real estate agents, that are brokers, that are chiropractors. All of them are people that I've met, either networking with them. I never sell my services. They hear about me. I might in passing mention, that we provide this service, but literally every client that we've gotten, and we have dozens of clients, and knock on wood, things are well, but we have dozens of clients, and I've never done a sales call. I mean, literally never. call me, hey, Patrick, I hear you do A, B, and C, or you mentioned you do X, Y, or Z, or somebody, and you mentioned earlier the family mastermind. I'm in a mastermind group, and somebody mentioned that you can help me with with certain service, and we meet and we talk, and so that only happens when you think in an abundant, when you have that abundant mindset,
Yeah.
when you're, and I think it's Zig Ziglar who says it, when you're, and I'm sure I always mess this up. You might know his quote better than I, but something to the effect that when you're able to get people, what they need, you'll never want for what you need. And I know I completely messed up say adage that he has, but it's true. It's true. And when I first started, kind of the networking space and connecting with people, my wife, and I'll tell you, she says, you're wasting your time. Why do you spend so many, literally hours and hours and hours and days doing this? What are you looking for? And I would say to her, if you connect with people, if you're able to be of service to them, you're building social capital, and at some point it'll come back. And going back to that conversation that I had with that salesperson, where I said I've never done a sales call, but that's why I've never done a sales call, because I'm a firm believer that, and I truly believe this in my heart. If you're able to help somebody get to their goal, able to help them build their business, able to be of value to them, they're going to turn around and they're going to go out of their way. I guess that law of reciprocity that Robert Cialdini speaks of, it's that law of reciprocity, kind of takes over. So I've been blessed in that respect, maybe of having the foresight of focusing on the importance of networking and creating connections with people and for people.
Right. I wonder, because you mentioned the law of reciprocity, and that works well, but it's very chancy, right? Like you're taking a chance that it's going to work out for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a strategic way of being a connector and being a networker that's more intentional, where you're thinking about, okay, this takes time, effort, money, that I can get a return on this investment? Is there a more strategic approach to it?
No, and none whatsoever. And it's funny because I'll meet people, and I'll probably meet 2 or 3 people a week, all year long. And people will say to me after we speak, and as you know, you may know, Benson, I host a lot of online events for to help people grow their business, to help network, help people network or what have you. They're all free. And usually at the end of the conversation, people ask me one of 2 things, what's in it for you? Or how can I be of service to you? And to that second question, I'd say, no, there's nothing. You don't need to do anything. Maybe someday I'll knock on your door, but nothing at all. And what's in it for me? And because they always say, well, what's in it for you? Why do you do all this and you don't charge? And for me, I say, look, if I could be an advocate for you, if I can help you grow your business, someday down the road, you'll think of me. And it hasn't been intentional, where I'm looking, to see how I can convert them into a client or to a lead or what have you. But I guess a law of reciprocity works magically, because over the years, again, I'm blessed. I've got a team of 19 VAs that work for me. They're busy. There's times where we're overwhelmed with work, and all of it comes from the network, from people that know me or know what we do. And that's the only way I'm able to keep them busy, keep that end of the business going. And again, it all has been driven from networking and trying to be of service and of value to other people.
I love it. Yeah, it's that whole go-giver mentality that
Exactly.
sometimes needs to be nurtured over time, but you can get good at it. And you've certainly become one of the best in the
Thank you.
industry at doing it.
Thank you. Actually, it was Rayana Starr. It's a shout out to Rayana Starr, who you know very
Yep.
well. She's the one that anointed me years ago, and she said, "Patrick, I'm going to anoint you as the King of Connect." So, kudos to her.
That's awesome. I love Rihanna. How is she doing?
Great gal. She's doing really well. She's doing really well. She's launching some other. She got a new designation and is launching in the coaching, that personal coaching space, and launching another service. She did that about a month ago.
Awesome. I need to catch up with her. You mentioned the Florida Express home buyers.
Yes.
Is that part of the large company, like the parent company? Is it a franchise?
No. It's just. I know there's a couple of companies that are similar with a similar name. No, it has
Yeah.
nothing to do with that. No, nothing to do with
Okay. Because I know Brad Chandler, who is the CEO of Express Home Buyers, which is now it's completely different, right? That's what we're saying.
that. Completely.
Gotcha. Very cool. So, I mean, this is how you're able to manage so many different businesses, right? You got your entire, your home renovation business. You do some wholesaling, you do a lot of real estate stuff, and then you're spending a lot of time networking and then also creating digital products and offerings
Correct.
online. And
Yes. So we
one
we
of your
create
most recent
different.
ones
Yep.
is this
Mhm.
REI Connections. What is it called?
It's REI content packs.
Content Pack. So tell me more about that.
Yes, sure. So the REI content packs, and I'll preface it by just talking briefly, if I may, Benson, about
Mhm.
blogging and what's the power of blogging and why blogging it is it's such an important tool in your marketing tool, box, that real estate investors and in general, and anybody that owns an online business should utilize. Unfortunately, it's underutilized by most people. But the REI content packs is a series of blog articles. They're pre-written blog articles. They've all been written by me. No AI, no copywriters. I've written every single one of them. And they're blog articles that one can publish one a week for an entire year. And they're aimed to answer the questions, the queries that motivated sellers are looking to find, get answers for on Google. So they're addressing the pain points, the problems, the concerns, the questions that motivated sellers have. And by publishing blogs on a real estate investment website, you're able to do many things. Number one, you're a resource for those people that are looking for answers to their problems. Number two, it's a way to position yourself as an expert in the field. It's a way to grow, that or at least the trust factor with your website visitors and those people that will read the blog. Beyond all of that, blogging is unique in that it's an evergreen strategy. As a business owner, we're doing all these what is known as the hamster wheel marketing. So we do all of these activities to get leads. For real estate investors, what do? We're knocking on doors, we're cold calling, we're placing ads, we're posting on social media, and that's work that you never finish. You're doing that. You need to do that forever, and it could be very tiresome. It could be very frustrating when you need to do this every day. All of those strategies work. There's no doubt of that. But the beauty of blogging is that it's an evergreen marketing strategy. So you create a blog once, and that blog will bring in traffic, potential leads to your website. Tomorrow, a year from today, 2 years from today, you'll get people that will visit, your website. So it's an evergreen strategy that can complement your paid ads, your social media strategy, your door knocking, or whatever else you're doing as well. Uh, the most successful investors have learned and see the value of blogging, and they're very aggressive. The REI content pack that I offer is a content pack where you can blog once a week. If you really are aggressive, you should do 2 or 3 times a week. The analogy that I use, Benson, is that if you and I go out on a boat and we go fishing and we throw in, we each throw in a reel, a rod into the water, we may catch some fish. But if we each bring 100, fishing rods with us, the likelihood that we're going to catch more fish, it grows exponentially. Same thing with blogging. If I can get, 50, 100, 200 blogs, out on the internet, then the likelihood that somebody is going to find me as a real estate investor, read my blog, maybe click on a form on my website, and then reach out to me is going to grow exponentially. So I'm a firm believer about blogging, something that I started many moons ago when the internet was still young as a real estate agent and broker. By then I was a broker, but as a broker. And it's something that I've done for years. I'm a firm believer in the power of blogging in order for you to get those motivated seller leads.
What kind of data or metrics is behind the effectiveness of blogging in today's marketing world, right? There's so many new technologies, right? We've got people on social, you've got all these apps, you've got email marketing, and video has really become kind of king in the content space. Are people still reading?
Absolutely. And one of the things, and going back to the REI content packs, and different people like to consume content in a different way. So to your point, the blog articles in these REI content packs, many of them have infographics because people like to consume data in a more visual. We have videos in many of the blogs, precisely to your point, because some people like to read, or even they'll read and then they'll see the video, where they can see the video, where the video summarizes everything that's in the blog with a call to action. Of course, when we blog, we always blog with a call to action. And the call to action obviously is, if you need more, if you need assistance, if you want to learn more, if you need help, reach out to XYZ home buyer, we're here to help you. So to your point, the blogs that we've created, I like to include images. I like to include GIFs, call outs, infographics, videos, so that people can consume the content, and from a different, whether they're more visual or more auditory, they can consume the content, based on their preference.
Got it. And before I have a follow-up question to that, but before I do,
Sure.
Is there any sort of metrics behind that as far as like the effectiveness of blogging in 2024?
Good question. And the honest answer, I don't have those metrics. I will
Okay.
tell you anecdotally though. And this is not to say that I'm going to blog and I'm going to make, my first, I'll blog today and tomorrow I make a deal. I'll bring up somebody that I think Lorenzo Sanchez. Lorenzo is a SaaS company owner. He purchased the blogs for somebody from one of his clients. On the third blog, and again, this is not customary. The third blog, somebody read the blog, reached out, and they did. I think it was a little over $30,000 on the buy and sell of that property. That's just a anecdotal. And Lorenzo, whenever we talk, he always reminds me of that. It's like the analogy of the fishing pole. If I put enough blogs out there and people can find me, first they got to know you exist. So what the best way to drive traffic to a website, not by building a beautiful website, but by either paid advertising, social media, or blogging. Those are the 3 ways you're going to get traffic. So first, people have to find you, and first. Second of all, by blogging, you're addressing some of the concerns, some of the problems, some of the questions that motivated sellers may have. And while they're on your website, they'll see your other land, your other pages, the other information about you. And it's a way for you to be able to win them over. Ideally, you want them to be able to maybe sign an opt-in form, or if maybe you offer a lead magnet, a free ebook or a guide on your website, they may download it. And then you've captured that lead, and then you can follow up with them. I will say that blogging is evergreen. The effects of blogging, last for not just for days, but for years. At the end of the day, if you're doing the hamster wheel marketing and you complement that with blogging, how many deals do you need to do in order for blogging to be effective? Now, I argue you don't need one deal a month. I mean, if you do 2 deals a year and you do $30,000 on each flip, I mean, it's worth the effort. And that is by no means something that's unrealistic.
Absolutely. So recently my dad is, he reads the newspaper every day, the Denver Post, right?
My dad does as well.
The actual newspaper.
Right.
But because there's so few people getting subscriptions, the cost is really skyrocketed. And they want something like $800 for the year for like getting a newspaper like once a day, right? Crazy amounts. And so he's like, I don't want to pay this anymore. And so I'm like, Dad, there's an alternative here. The Denver Post has a digital version of the same publication. And he's like, well, where would I read it? So my dad's not technical at all. So I bought him an iPad for Christmas, and I set up the iPad with, a link directly to the Denver Post so we can go read it. And what he's doing is he's listening to it. So he gets on there, and there's a little widget at the top of the post, right? It could be a blog post or whatever, where he just pushes the play button and it reads it to him. And so I thought that was really clever. Like, there's another way of consuming this that's not a video, that you don't have to do anything extra. There's just like this widget on the page where he pushes play, and now he can listen to it, which I thought was pretty neat.
Well, first, let me say that I had a similar conversation with my dad several years ago. And you probably remember, I remember, the fact that I think when I was 11 or 12 years old, I think everybody delivered at some point, the newspaper.
I did. 12 years old.
Yeah. And my dad mentioned something about the newspaper. And I said, Dad, you got to get with the times. My dad's 85. You got to get with the times, and you've got to, why buy the newspaper? Why contaminate the earth? Why cut down trees? Why create waste? And like your dad, he's like, not that, digitally, he doesn't feel comfortable. But I set him up also on a computer, and now he's on the computer probably more than a 15-year-old kid. He's there looking at YouTube and what have you. To your point, though, I'm sure that there has to be a WordPress plugin that you can add onto a site that will allow the website visitors to also listen to blogs on, listen to the audio version of the blog. I'm sure there's a WordPress plugin that you can add to, and just about any website where you can have that done as well.
Oh yeah. I actually have a widget on my browser. It's through a company called Speechify. Okay. And it just shows up on every page, and it automatically like zeroes in on all the text, and all I got to do is press play, and it'll read any page that I'm on.
Interesting.
Pretty neat little tool. I like it. Sometimes I'll set my email up. I'll get my email going. I'll just press play, and I'll be like working over here, and I'll just let it read my emails to me.
Interesting.
So there's so many different technological advances in not just blogging, but in consumption of content that is really interesting. You mentioned AI earlier, as far as AI having the ability to write blogs, which I think is really interesting. And some of these tools can go like write a full out book for you if you've got the right inputs.
Yes. I have I have a number of copywriters on my team, and our clients ask me, do you use AI? And I say, yeah, of course we do use AI. It's a tool that's out there. I would say AI takes you about 70% of the way there. You still need that 30% input for somebody that knows the business, that knows writing, that can capture the client's tone, their style of writing. Definitely AI helps in so many ways. Justin Lee, who he owns he has a CRM, but it's one of these AI CRMs. And I was speaking to him earlier today, and I mean his AI it's mind blowing how he's built that out. There's no doubt, and I'm sure we all agree that AI is taking us just to places that we never imagined.
Yeah, it's getting way easier. So how has AI changed your position in this network, right? Because you've provided a lot of marketing services and connections and different kind of just support services, and you're using AI. How has it changed how you help your clients?
We can get a client of mine, literally, I was yesterday, Monday. He said, Patrick, we wrote an ebook for him. And he said, can you write an ebook for his business partner? And so I know that the gal who I assigned that task to we'll probably get 70% of that completed through AI. And as I said, the rest of it, she comes in. So it to answer your question directly, it's made us more efficient. We could do things more quickly. At the end of the day, and I think that's I was seeing a robot that does it literally can do La Pietà, can do Michelangelo's La Pietà, and it's a robot that sculptors are using to be able to make these beautiful works of art with the marble that comes out from in Italy. And one of the hesitation or some of the complaints is that they're artists, they should be sculpting these amazing figures, these amazing statues by hand. And what one of the artists said is, whether an artist does it or a robot does it, it doesn't take away the creativity that's involved. I think in some respects, when you prompt an AI to give you information, it'll get you there, but it's not going to get you there 100%. And that's what you need, whether it's a robot that's sculpting a beautiful work of art, you're going to need that human touch, whether it's 30% or as this in this interview that I was listening to, if it's 5 or 10%, you still need the artist to come in and to really get down to the details of a sculpture, of a piece of sculpture, or if you're writing a lead magnet, a blog, email marketing, you need a human to go in there to really fine tune it and make it just so.
Yeah, I agree. You definitely have to go back and just look over it and make sure it makes sense. But it's pretty astounding how good some of the first drafts are when it comes out of it.
Absolutely.
My God. I mean, just 3 years ago, if you would have seen that, you would have been like, there's no way. But it's just it's advancing so quickly.
I'll just to add piggyback on what you're saying. There's a company that does these AI calls, and it can help with AI calls. And I was testing out the product. It wasn't really ready yet. About a year ago, I think today they're set. But the owner of the company said, "Hey Patrick, go ahead and download this app and call it, and you can have a conversation with the AI." And what was interesting is that I called it, and at that moment, within about a minute or two of me talking to the AI, the doorbell rang, and it was my wife who was coming home from work, and I guess I was talking to the AI. The phone rings, the doorbell rings, and without even thinking, I said to the AI, "Can you hold a second? I need to answer the door." Now, it was amazing as the AI said to me, "Oh, no problem. I'll wait for you and let me know when you're ready." When that happened, I was like, wow, because I didn't expect it to be able to answer me. But that I was really impressed, because that was completely out of the sequence of the conversation that I would have normally had with this robot, with this bot.
What company was that?
They'll come
Was
to
it Prop
me.
AI?
No, Air AI.
Air AI. Okay.
Yeah, they've gone through a couple of changes, but they were known as I believe now they're known as Air AI. I forget what they were before. And the only problem is that there was a latency when you spoke to the to the bot, and it was evident it was a bot. And when I was speaking to the owner, I said, you're almost there. I'm not interested in the product. I was going to white label it and sell it. That was my thought. But at that point, it wasn't there yet.
Hmm.
That what happened to me with that doorbell ringing and amazing, just blew me away. I haven't checked back, but the technology has probably gotten to the point, and I think it will definitely get to the point where you'll be talking to somebody. There's no way you'll know that it's a bot. I mean, I'm sure it's going to be that amazing.
Oh yeah. It's definitely trending that direction.
Yes,
So,
absolutely.
so going back to the being the king of connections,
Mhm.
do you remember like that first big connection that you made where you realized the power of networking, where you were just like, oh my God, this is huge. Like I'm going to double down on this strategy.
Um, Okay, yeah, yeah. I mean, and it's happened often. I think, before I got into the space, I spent, I was literally, all I did, I was a real estate investor 100% for decades. And then when I started kind of moving into this digital, we have some small software apps that we also have created for real estate investors and the marketing services. There's people that I've followed for years, and I've seen them as they're just untouchable. They're very big, heavy, big fish in our industry. And there's been times where, I meet them or they reach out to me, and I hang up the phone or I'll hang up, end the Zoom call, and I'm like, wow, this is somebody I followed me for a decade. I've been so impressed by what they do. Somebody that comes to mind that we did a master class with is a fellow by the name of William Bronchek, which I'm sure you've heard. I
Yeah. He's
followed
out of
William for
Colorado.
years. Yep, followed him for years, and William Tingle recommended him, and we did a master class together. And when I was chatting with him, I was kind of I guess a teenager who's awestruck with a rock star. Since I'm in this business, I was kind of like awestruck with him because he's very highly respected. He's been in the business for years, and quite often, uh, that happens. And then there's connections that I make with people where they'll reach back out to me and say, Patrick, this is a phenomenal connection, and magic happens. But one event that I hold every year is the REI CollabCon event. And at that event, we get about 150 entrepreneurs in the REI space, and it's a full days of networking. So we break out into small breakout rooms. We have speakers, and as I've said, and I say it at the event, magic happens. There's people that wind up being business partners, people that cross promote each other, podcast hosts that bring on guests. It's just amazing. And this might sound a little cheesy, but it's true. Um, it's satisfying when you're able to make beyond the money, beyond the social capital. It's really satisfying when you can connect to people and they're being able to do that magic because of your efforts, because you're integral part in creating those connections. I just made it's just satisfying. I love to do that. So maybe it's something built in my nature that I enjoy doing that.
I think it is in your nature. And I don't think it's in everyone's nature to see that, because earlier you mentioned people ask you what's in it for you. And that's one of the things, right? Yeah, there's definitely a financial angle. You're thinking, okay, I'm gonna need to get an ROI on this somehow, but it doesn't have to be from this person. But you're thinking like synergistically over time, you're gonna have some money come back to you in some way that will help you, fund your organization. But
Correct.
not everybody's like that. So I would say thank you, because you've certainly connected me with lots of people, and it's been very helpful. But for anybody who's listening, think about that. Think about, who do you know who can help somebody else that you know? And you will build such a strong network of people that will jump through hoops for you if you help them. And like Patrick said, not expecting anything in return. If you approach it from, I just want to help, I want to be a go-giver, things will come back around to you. I believe that's true.
Absolutely, and to bring things home, literal, figuratively and literally, my wife for years said to me, Patrick, why do you do that? You're wasting your time. And she said that to me for a couple of years, and then quickly found out that that law of reciprocity works. And then she says, wow, it's amazing. Now, I don't think that I'm not any smarter than anybody else. Maybe it's in my nature. I enjoy connecting. I enjoy doing that. So, I just kind of stuck to it. But absolutely, Benson, what you said, it's for everybody that's listening, that is so important. And the idea of building that social capital is so important. And you never know. And going back to using the term of, dollars and cents, you never know when you can cash in on that social capital in many ways, because you never know when you need somebody's assistance, somebody to, to guide you or to recommend some, a service or what have you.
Well, I like that you called it that. Let's stop there for a moment and just highlight the importance. Well, first, what is social capital, and how can people leverage it?
Okay. Social capital is an IOU. So if when you're at the door of a restaurant and you open the door for somebody, or you give up a seat on the subway, or on the train for someone, they're going to feel they owe you something. And it happens so often that you do something there without you're not looking for anything in return. But maybe you give up your seat at a restaurant or what have you, and then you're ready to pay your bill, and the waiter says, the gal or the gentleman that you gave up your seat just paid your bill or what have you. You're not looking for that. So it's social capital. The way I would define it is getting IOUs from a ton of people, and then those IOUs you cash them in many ways. So you come in and you say, hey, Benson, I'm launching this product. Is there any way you can help me promote this? Or Benson, I'm looking to, I've got this new service that I'm offering. Do you know of anybody that might be interested in this service? Or, there's so many ways. But if you build enough social capital with enough people, and again, going back to Zig Ziglar, I'm a firm believer, you'll never be at a loss for clients, for referrals, and for business. And I will say that the concept of social capital, I guess I learned from Dad in the real estate business many moons ago, because I applied the same concept, the same idea when I was a real estate agent and broker. How can I help the homeowner? How can I assist the homeowner with financing, with referrals, whether it's an attorney or a contractor or whatever. And they're going to think about it. What's important behind all of this, or in addition to this, is to always remember to stay top of mind with your network or with your clients. And I think, and I'm sure Benson, I know you're aware of this, where a lot of people fail, and I'm going to switch over to leads, is you get leads, you get network, people that join your network, and you forget about them. So you need to do those touches with your network or with your potential leads on a consistent basis so that you stay top of mind. So that's something extra that I think is so critically important.
Oh, it's crucial. And I like that you mentioned, you took it back to brass tacks, which is, I've got a phone full of contacts. I don't even know who's in this phone. I wish I could download it. Maybe there is a way to get it into a spreadsheet, and I can go back and see who I've talked to. There's so many valuable connections out there that I've made over the years that I've probably forgotten about until they pop up top of mind for some reason. Like some sort of relevant context makes me think about somebody like, oh, I need to reach out to that person. But having a more strategic approach to networking where you're like, okay, I need to talk to all these people in the first quarter of 2025, right? And you put them on a checklist, and you go through and you either text them or you call them or you email them and create that relationship and just reach out and be like, hey, what are you working on? What can I help you with?
Yes, in fact, I'm launching. Probably have it done by the end of the month with Stephen Collar. Stephen is a real estate investor out of Indiana. He's a big player in Indiana, and he attends a lot of the masterminds. In fact, he's part of Mike Hambright's Investor Fuel and part of Trevor Mock's mastermind. And we're launching a service. It's a done for you service to do exactly what you just said. What we're doing is it'll be a done for you service so that when you go to an event and you collect all these business cards or all these contacts, a lot of people were so busy, don't have time to follow up. So the service that we're putting together, in fact, my team has started creating the website this morning. So this is so, opportune, this conversation. What we're going to do is we're going to provide a service where one of my VAs will reach out to all the contacts that you've made at a mastermind, meeting or a RIA meeting or an event. Reach out to them, get their email, reintroduce. In this case, I'd say, Benson, you've gone to the family mastermind, so reintroduce you to the members of the family mastermind, get their emails, and then we'll go ahead and insert that into the client's CRM, and we'll go ahead and set up whether if they have something created already, we'll implement and do a workflow where we can put them on a drip email campaign and an SMS campaign so that you can start building that relationship. We're also going to be integrating a LinkedIn aspect to that as well. So to your point, it's exactly a service that we're going to be providing probably by mid-February. In fact, we have an event that we're already going to introduce this at. So probably by mid-February, we'll be doing that. And it's a way, in Steven's case, he's like, Patrick, I've got thousands of leads. I don't have the time, that I collect over a year. I don't have the time to reach out to people, put them in my CRM, and he's got a smaller team. And so if somebody out there could provide this service where I could just hand this off to you, you guys can set everything up, it'll make that event that I might be paying $500 or $5,000 to attend, it'll make it worth it. Because at the end of the day, if I'm paying, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 to attend a mastermind, and I'm not leveraging those connections, that money's going to waste. So if I pay $500 or $1,000, we haven't decided the price yet. But if I got to pay $1,000 or $500 for you guys to take care of everything for me, and I can do that at each event, and I know that I can put him in a sequence where I stay top of mind, where I'm nurturing the relationship with my network, then phenomenal. So it's interesting that you brought up this today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it's definitely needed. And I think a lot of the things that you've created over the years are definitely needed. Is there an REI CollabCon coming up anytime soon?
The next one's coming up in June. Normally I do it in June.
Okay.
So yeah, and I'll definitely invite you there. It's a lot of fun. And what particularly, just to go in a brief tangent, it's as I mentioned, a full day event. What really makes it powerful are the breakout rooms. So you break out with 6, 7 other people, where you can be more intimate and kind of, and the idea, as I always say in the REI CollabCon event, is find out whose back you can scratch and who can scratch your back, and see where there's synergy and see where there's opportunity to collab.
Awesome. We'll keep an eye out for that.
Sure.
And then, a lot of the things you said have probably touched a nerve with many of the people in the audience, and they're probably thinking, I want to work with Patrick in some form or fashion. And certainly the blogging toolkit, I think, is going to be one of those things. You just mentioned the new service you're going to be launching to help people leverage and get the most value out of their networking. Where can people find you?
The easiest place is at PatrickYepez.me. So they can find me there. It's easy, Patrick. My last name is P as in Patrick, EZ.room. And there's my email there, my phone number is there. If they're interested, if anybody that's listening is interested in learning a little bit more about the REI content packs and about the blogs, they could visit, and it's called the REI content packs is the actual blogs, the package of blogs, but they can visit reicontentpacks.com. And what I would recommend is that when they visit it, they visit reicontentpacks.com/REF/ the number 71. So I'll repeat it one more time. It's reicontentpacks.com/REF/71. And if they do, if they use that code, they get offering a 10% discount. Anybody that uses that code, that's, for the listeners, that's a code that we generated for Benson. So they can get a 10% discount on the REI content packs. And I'll just briefly mention the price so that people are not scared. It's $298 with a 10% discount, and you have 52 blogs for you to blog every week of the year. There's a lot of meat of the bone. They're very informative. And it's another tool, as I mentioned, in your toolbox that you can use to augment your marketing strategies that you're doing. And I'll end with this. If you don't have somebody on the team to personalize the blogs, to upload them, to format them on your email, on your website, we provide that service as well. So we can literally take them, and we do that for about a dozen clients on a weekly basis. We upload the blogs, we personalize them, we add their information into the blog, schedule them, and they go out on a weekly basis. So for those that maybe are short on time or short on on staff, we can help with that as well.
Well, that's probably everybody here. And if they think
Yes.
they have the time, they need to reprioritize what they're working on, because it probably would cost over $300 just to create one blog. If you think about how much time and effort and resources it would take to do it, everybody who's listening to this, your time's worth more than that. So don't do it yourself. Use
Correct.
Patrick's services, and probably even the done for you as well. So
Yes. And by the way, and for just to mention the price, we charge $10 a blog. So for $40 a month, we have a VA that goes in and goes into your platform, and as I mentioned, uploads it, personalizes it, formats it, schedules it, and then notifies the website owner the blog is live, and then you kind of set it and forget it. So your time is definitely worth more than $10 an hour.
yeah, 100%. I love it, Patrick. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you jumping on. You're always a wealth of knowledge. We took some different tangents today I didn't expect, but that's
Sure.
the beautiful thing about conversation is you never know where it's going to end up. And yeah, it's been a great conversation. Thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it.
Benson, this has been a lot of fun. I'll be a guest on a number of podcasts, and this is a lot of fun. I like your style. I like that it's casual. I like that, as you said, you never know where a conversation, what curves it takes, but this has been a lot of fun. So I really appreciate it. And true to my nature, if I could be of service to anybody that's listening, I'm an open book. So you look me up at patrickyepez.com. There is no quid pro quo in my life. So if I could be of service to anybody that's listening, primarily in the real estate field or in the marketing, I'd be happy to connect you with somebody or share some of my experience. And again, true to my nature, there is no quid pro quo. You don't need to buy anything from me, but I'm an open book, and I'll make myself available to your audience best.
Amazing. Well, thanks again, Patrick. And everybody, thank you for listening to this edition of the REI Hacker Podcast. Keep an eye out for more amazing guests, just like Patrick, on future episodes. We're approaching 100 episodes on the REI Hacker Podcast. We've been doing it now for close to a year. And so thank you for everybody who listens. Please subscribe, share it with your friends and your family. We got a lot more cool stuff coming out. And also keep an eye out for an invitation to our new newsletter and blog. We're taking a lot of these blog posts, we're getting contributors, and we're going to be putting this all into a reading format that you can, consume in a different way. Something that's more, bite-sized chunks, something you can, read through in a couple minutes. So keep an eye out for that, and please subscribe. And thanks for listening. Hope everybody has a great day.
Thanks, Benson.
That's a wrap on today's Real Estate Revelations. Thank you for tuning into the REI Hacker Podcast. Remember, every property has a story, and every deal is a lesson. Until next time, keep hacking the real estate world.